Hi guys, my name is Priyanshu, and in this screencast we are going to learn about the data binding techniques in the Angular 2. So we have learned in the last video that how to create the component, and now we are going to start the data bindings. So transferring the data from from component to the template and from template to component. Okay, so we having the two types of data binding. One is a property binding, and another one is a event binding. So the property binding are used to transfer the data from component to the template, and when we want to transfer the data or raise any kind of event from the template or the DOM UI, so we use the event binding mechanism. So we can do the data binding in the Angular 2 by using the following ways. So there are the four ways we can manage the data from component to the DOM element. So first is a interpolation. So interpolation is nothing but the expression binding to the DOM element. So it's a one directional from component to the DOM element. Okay, so when the component value will get changed, the DOM element will automatically notify, and it will get changed there. Okay, so the syntax for the interpolation, we have to write the two curly brackets. So inside the double curly brackets, we have to write our expression. So that expression will get rendered, and it will evaluated and render on the particular position where we bind that expression. Okay, so next is property binding. So property binding are nothing but the binding the DOM element property with the component property. For that, we have the square bracket syntax. So inside that, we have to write the we have write our DOM element target property, like in image, like src or value. So like that, we have write the property of DOM element inside the square bracket, and assign the our component property to it. Okay, so that is also one direction from component to the DOM element. Next is event binding. In event binding, as we discussed that when in a DOM raise any kind of event, so Angular having the mechanism to handle that event in the component. So that so for that, we having the event binding. So for the event binding, we have a target event from where the from the DOM element where it get raised. So so that will be inside the parenthesis, and it assigned to the binding expression, or that expression may be a function, or maybe a single line code of JavaScript or the TypeScript. Okay, next is next is a two-way binding. So two-way binding is awesome thing in the Angular 2. So in the previous version in Angular, so it's by default having the two-way binding. So in the Angular 2, we having if we want to implement the two-way binding, so we we use the following syntax for implementing it. That is first square bracket, and inside the square bracket we have to write ng model, and it assigned to the property. So the two-way binding is work in this fashion, that whenever the DOM element or DOM element will get changed, so automatically reflect the changes in the property of component, or in component property get changed, so it automatically reflect the changes in the DOM element. So in this fashion, the two-way bindings get work. So we will get implement all this type of binding in our application. Let's go to our Visual Studio Code. Okay, so this is the basic application for we have set up in the previous video. So we having our root component, that is the app component, and inside that we have the template and our template. So in that we have the heading tag. Okay, h1. So first we implement the interpolation. So for that, I am declaring the title property, and I am assigning the same that is welcome to Angular tutorial to the title property. So and for the interpolation, we have a syntax, that is double curly brackets So inside the double curly brackets we have to write our title property. So IntelliSense will give the title property. So now I'll say, so it's working guys. So the title properties get rendered on the screen in the h1 tag. So I have to discuss about more in the interpolation. So interpolation it takes as an expression. So expression can be anything, so like 4 plus 6 and save, so it will display the 10. Okay, so in this way the interpolation will get work. So next is property binding. Okay, let's move ahead. For the demonstration of the property binding, I have taken the image and it's having the as source property. So we will implement the property binding. And so I have defined the image. I have defined one image URL. So that image URL will contain that src path. So and I assign the image URL property to here. So the for the property binding syntax we have a square bracket so we take that DOM target property inside the square bracket and we assign our assign to our component property to it. So guys, it render on the browser. We having the two syntax for the property binding. First is the square bracket and another one is prefixing the bind keyword. So let's see that also. Instead of using square bracket, we can use bind bind dash src. So and get save the file. So it will load our second image also. So in this way we implement, so that's the second image, and in this way we implement the property binding. So let's go to the next thing, that is the event binding. For the event binding, I have to remove I removed that two images and take a button. Okay, so click remove that image URLs for the clarification, so you will not get confused. Okay, so our button is get rendered here. So we will bind the event which is clicked event for the button. So we having a syntax for binding the event inside the parenthesis, and we have to insert we have to write our target event which will get raised. So in this case we have the click event. So we have to assign the expression inside for that. So I have and that expression must be maybe a function. So I am defining a button click function. Okay, and that button click function we will going to implement in our class or component. Okay, so we will implement that. So now I have to just log console on the console or alert message that my button two-way binding is my event binding is, sorry guys for the spelling, binding is working. Okay, let's see how it's work. Okay guys, so I'm clicking on that click button, click. Yeah, we got the alert message that my event binding is working. So that's the event binding in the Angular 2. So let's move further step on in the event binding. So sometime we have to pass some data from the clicked event or the subscribed event to the for that we can pass here like one variable a, and that variable is type of number. So in the TypeScript they have a number data type. So I alert that number, alert a variable. I comment that previous alert. Okay, I saved it and it displays. So let's see how the data will get transferred or not. Okay, so guys, we got one in the alert. So in this way we can transfer the event data from the event to the calling function. Okay guys, so we have one more thing to demonstrate, that sometime we need the target event object which having the information about from that event get raised. Okay, so for that we have in the Angular we have dollar event object. From dollar event object will contain all the event related information. So this event is passed through the subscriber where it's get subscribed. So from there, so now let's see what it get contain in the. So for guys, event object, event is a object, so we will logged it in on the console. So if we do alert, so it will not display anything. Log console.log. So inside that we have pass our event object. So let's see. So our application is get recompiled, and now go to our developer tools, get on inspect, and go to console. Okay, in console. So now I'm clicking on the click button. Let's observe in the console. Okay, we got the event, whole event object in that. So that event object tells everything about from where it generated, and what anything about x coordinate, y coordinate, and about there. So that's the event object for the event handling mechanism. So next is two-way binding. So for the two-way data binding, I taken the form, and inside that I have a text box and the label. So I define a property, that's name, which is interpolated inside the label. Okay, so let's implement our two-way data binding. For the two-way data binding, we having the syntax square bracket. Inside that we have parenthesis, and in that we have ng capital M model. Okay, that's the syntax. So for to this we have to assign our property, that is name. Okay, so let's do. So guys, that ng model directives, that is the directive. So that directive is not present in the core Angular core library. So we have a separate module for forms. So in that it is situated. So for this we have to first import the form module. We have to go our app.modules.ts. Inside we have to import our module from the @angular/forms library. So in that we have form module. Okay, so that form module we have to pass inside the import section in the ng module tag. Okay, so the next step is we have to set the name for the input box, that is the name property. So without that it will throw some exception. So I'll give as a first name. So now our two-way data binding is now ready. Okay, so whenever I type inside the text box, it will appears in the label tag, that in the interpolation we have just interpolated same property name in the we implement two-way data binding. So for just recap the two-way data binding. So first, the syntax for the two-way data binding is inside a square bracket, inside that the inside parenthesis. For implementation of the two-way data binding, the following syntax, that is square bracket, inside the parenthesis, and ng model. So m is a capital in the ng model, which we assign the as a name property, which define in the component. So we have for using the two-way data binding, we have it's compulsory to give the name for that control. So this is the first step, and second is the app module, which is our root module of our application. So in that so the ng module is inside the form module. That directive are situated in the form module. So we have to import that from the form Angular/form library, and in the ng model decorator we have a import property. So we have to pass the form ng that form module inside that. So that's the second step. We are done with the implementation of the binding. So that's the implementation of all the binding techniques in the Angular 2. So in the next video we will going to see the input and output properties for the component. So by using that we can import and export the external data from parent, or we will export the data or properties to the external component. So thanks guys for watching this video, and if you like this video, please subscribe.